All right, welcome in. It is dumping snow outside here at the Denver airport. Yes, on a layover. That doesn't stop the 49ers updates from rolling in. And talk this morning, Maxx Crosby. Apparently, the Raiders are maybe getting a little bit more serious about actually trading him. According to Diana Rossini, he's still drawing serious interest from many teams, including the 49ers. The Cowboys are closely monitoring the situation and remain very interested, while the Ravens are also a team to watch. Now, this is on the heels of a report from Trey Wingo yesterday, and this report is disputed, and I'll show you exactly why. I'm going to reveal what 49ers guy, that's Shane Stern on the bottom. He actually has been well plugged in with some of the 49ers offseason moves. But Trey Wingo last night said that things are moving fast regarding Maxx Crosby. He said that Dallas thought they were close to a deal last night. But since then, other teams have raised the ante and are potentially offering the Raiders 2 first-round picks. Trey Wingo said that he expected Dallas to shift focus to Trey Hendrickson, who I think is a 49ers target in free agency that wouldn't require a trade. But then Shane responded to him and said, this isn't correct. Multiple teams are interested, but the Raiders are asking for 2 firsts and aren't budging. No team is offering that or will offer that. Who knows what teams will offer. I will say this, the latest I've heard is that the Raiders are not budging off of the 2 first-round pick plus impact player ask, and that is why Maxx Crosby has not been dealt yet. And if the Raiders seriously do want to trade him, they're probably going to have to move off of that price unless a team gets a wild hair up their nose and decides to offer a Micah Parsons-like package. It doesn't really make sense to me for the Cowboys to offer that type of package, since the Cowboys traded Micah Parsons away for that type of trade return. So we will continue monitoring the Maxx Crosby situation. Obviously, the contract is significant in all this. And for those of you just trying to get up to speed on all of this, this is what Maxx Crosby has remaining on his deal. From 2025 to 2029, he signed it last offseason. Any team that trades for Maxx Crosby would inherit $30 million guaranteed in 2026, and then team control from 27 through 2029 with nothing guaranteed. And of course, you could take the guaranteed salary in 2026, convert it to signing bonus, and lower the salary cap number, which would be about 30 million, maybe 31 million for an acquiring team. The Raiders on the hook for the signing bonus, and then an acquiring team would be on the hook for the rest. But the Raiders built this contract to be traded potentially. That's why maybe they're cash poor as well, but that works hand in hand. There is not a lot of signing bonus money in here that would result in dead money for the Raiders. The money that is owed to Maxx Crosby moving forward can be offloaded via a trade. It just depends on how eager the Raiders actually are to trade, or if they want to keep Maxx Crosby in the absence of a massive trade return. All right, from this Denver airport, hopefully the mic is doing a good job. They started playing music here in the United Club at the Denver airport, so I had to get out the Bluetooth mic that is very on the noise cancellation end of things. 49ers offensive line strategy. They are very unlikely to retain Spencer Burford, which is something that we've been talking about for a couple months. Matt Barrows came out and tweeted that, or said it on his podcast today. That confirms what I think has been obvious regarding Spencer Burford. You go back to how much money Aaron Banks made in free agency as a below average guard in this league. The Green Bay Packers were willing to take on Aaron Banks at $19 million a year. I don't think that Spencer Burford is going to make $19 million a year wherever he ends up, but he's going to make more than the 49ers are willing to pay. However, they are interested in bringing Ben Bartch back in 2026. Now, the issue with Ben Bartch has been that he's been unable to stay consistently healthy, but he only made the league minimum last year. That was just about $1.075 million. It was guaranteed. Most of it was guaranteed for Ben Bartch in 2025, but it was the league minimum. I don't know if he would be eligible for another fully guaranteed deal this year, given the fact that he wasn't healthy again for the majority of 2025. But either way, if the 49ers can get him back at a price of just over $1 million, I don't think there's a lot of downside for the 90-man roster. Bartch actually the solid performing guard for San Francisco. The availability has been the main concern. Speaking to John Lynch, though, at the NFL Combine, it really sounds like the 49ers are going to bring in some outside help at that left guard position. We could talk about a Dylan Parham. We can talk about an Isaac Seumalo, his sisters on the 49ers scouting staff. That's somebody who's been a Pro Bowler before, has been in this league for quite some time. He's on the wrong side of 30. Parham is a little bit of a younger player. I mean, if we want to talk about Raiders moving over to the 49ers, Dylan Parham might be a more realistic option. But, I'm working on the offensive line grading sheet right now. These are percentile scores for the 49ers offensive linemen. Blue is good. Red is bad. Run blocking on the right. Pass blocking right here in the middle. The first thing that you should notice from last season is that the 49ers had consistent snap delivery from everyone except for their starting left guard, and that was Ben Bartch. That's because he got hurt, and then the 49ers obviously had to move to Connor Colby, who's down here at the bottom, and then beyond that, they moved to Spencer Burford. One thing that you'll notice about Colby and Burford at that left guard position is that their scores were not good. Everything was below average. You want to be at least above 50 here to be above average. It is a percentile score, and the 49ers were well below that when they moved to their backups at the left guard positions. That was the biggest problem with the offensive line, especially when the rookie Colby came in there. He was only a second percentile pass blocker. That means that 98% of guards scored better on the grade scale than Connor Colby in pass protection. He was the rookie out of Iowa. I would expect him to improve, but last year it definitely wasn't good enough. When Bartch was in there, he was a solid player. He was 49th percentile in pass blocking. That's right around average. He scored better than Jake Brendel and Dominic Pooney, although I will say that Dominic Pooney was hurt last season. He got hurt against the Raiders on that extra point in the preseason. You look at the run blocking scores, though, and they were all good across the 49ers offensive line. And I think that's what, people often are misdiagnosing this offseason. They're like, well, 49ers had their worst yards per carry since the start of the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era. The offensive line must not have been very good at run blocking. It was more of an issue of the 49ers perimeter run blocking this past season. All of the data points to that. Like the adjusted line yards, which try to isolate how well the line blocks, how many times the 49ers are able to get 0 to 4 yards per carry. 49ers ranked number 9 in adjusted line yards, but they ranked way down at number 26 in open field yards. And a lot of people will then turn and say, well, what was the running back running actually bad? I don't think it was. I think Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson Jr. ran the ball well this past season. I think that the 49ers just did not block well on the perimeter. They did not create the environment to spring explosive plays beyond the work of the offensive line. They need better wide receiver performance in that regard. You look at somebody like Brandon Ayuk. He was such an important factor for the 49ers team in that regard. You look at somebody like Jawan Jennings. He's been critical in run blocking, but he was playing a lot of the season with 5 broken ribs. The bottom line is that the offensive line last season wasn't terrible. Like with the run blocking scored above average at every single position, and the 2 tackles were 90 percentile plus. Trent Williams ranked, I think, 2nd of all tackles in run block grade. Colton McKivitz was 4th, so 97th and 93rd percentile for the 49ers in the middle. They were happy with Jake Brendel there, and obviously Bartch didn't play enough, but that's what the 49ers are working with. It's the pass protection on the interior where the scores weren't quite as good. And it's the availability at left guard where the 49ers had a big issue. Now, you could see why Spencer Burford down here at the bottom is not a priority re-sign for the 49ers. If he's going to command even over $5 million per year, which I think is fair to say, just given how inflated this guard market is, given the fact that Aaron Banks made $19 million per year with similar metrics, well, that's not worth it for the 49ers. You got to have guys that score in the blue, and if they're slightly in the red, if they're a bit under the 50th percentile in pass blocking, you can't be paying them more than $5 million per year. That's why I think that outside help might be something that the 49ers go for, because if you sign Ben Bartch to the minimum, you've got a solid player when he's available, but he hasn't proven that he can stay consistently available yet. So I would think that they're interested in Bartch as 90-man depth. He can compete for that left guard position, but I really think that somebody like Dylan Parham, somebody like Isaac Seumalo, veterans, could plug and play into that 49ers left guard position for the near term. And what that would do is it would give you a chance for further development from somebody like Connor Colby. And I think the 49ers believe in Colby as at least a potential depth piece over the course of the next 3 seasons under his rookie contract. But to thrust him into a starter's role last year, that was tough, right? He was thrust into that starter's role early. I don't think he was ready for it. George Kittle called him out, said that he's got to learn how to take care of his body at an NFL level. That means he's got to get stronger. And I think that at this point, you could probably expect a little bit of a jump from Connor Colby in year 2, but I don't think that the 49ers are going to want to rely on him to be a starter at left guard. Now, when we talk about more offensive strategy, I discussed Trent Williams last night. You can go and watch that video about a potential contract resolution. 49ers obviously in a holding pattern there. They've got to get that figured out before the roster bonus is due at some point over the course of the next month. The thing about Trent is that he's going to turn 38 this next season. Jake Brendel is going to turn 34 this next season. You're actually in a really solid spot with an ascending right tackle whom we've paid, whom we've secured under contract for a number of seasons with Colton McKivitz. I think you're in a really solid spot at right guard, because I don't expect Dominic Pooney to have to play hurt throughout all of next season like he did this year. But the left side of the line, the long-term future there is more tenuous for the 49ers. You got to figure the Trent Williams situation out beyond, obviously, just this season, 2026. You've got to think what you're going to do at left tackle. You know, I mean, if you get an extension worked out, you could probably expect Trent Williams and count on him to be there for 2027, but he's going to be 39 that year. So you really have to think 5 years down the line if you're the 49ers now, even if Trent is going to be your guy for the next 2. You got to figure out left guard in the near term. And then Jake Brendel, like Trent Williams, is entering the lame duck year of his contract. And Brendel has played a lot better than teams have given him credit for, or fans, I guess I should say, have given him credit for. I think the knee tendonitis is something that he has moved beyond at this point. He was available for the 49ers last year. The run blocking got better, but again, he's not getting any younger. And the 49ers, that center position is so important for this team. A lot of people are going to be talking about Tyler Linderbaum, but he might make up the $25 million a year, makes it a long shot for the 49ers. So that's kind of the objective look at the offensive line right now. The 49ers have been, I would say, average if you aggregate it, the pass blocking and the run blocking percentiles. They haven't been terrible up front. The biggest issues for the 49ers offensively have been in the separation category. This right here measures pass blocking efficiency and pass block win rate through the years. I think in general, things have actually gotten better for the 49ers. Now, the pass blocking efficiency, because of some of the struggles in protection, I think especially at left guard last year, did take a downturn. If pass blocking efficiency is measured by PFF, pass block win rate is measured by ESPN. Win rate is how often linemen are able to hold their block successfully for 2.5 seconds or more. As you can see in 2024, a lot of people were up in arms about the offensive line. They were a top half team in both metrics. In 2025, they were a top half team in one metric in pass block win rate, and another metric, pass block efficiency, below average, which is why blue is good, red is bad, and I delineate with those two colors. And, you know, why was it red in pass blocking efficiency? Well, I would say because they had to rely a lot right here on Connor Colby at left guard, and because the interior just didn't pass protect as well as The 49ers, I think, would like it to. I think they would like to see these numbers bump up above the 50th percentile, so they are at least ahead of league average. But there was no gaping hole in the starting five. The gaping holes for the 49ers last year came when they had to rely on some depth, and that came at left guard. All right, let's answer some of your questions here from the Denver airport, where there's a blizzard outside. So far, no flight delay. That's good. They're saying the boarding is coming in 56 minutes, so it's still on time. I have this cool app called Flighty that tracks all of my flights and tells me if the flight's on time, tells me if the inbound flight is on time. You could see we're going Denver to Fresno on Flighty. Inbound flight is coming in from Salt Lake City and landing in 14 minutes. You can see my ring light reflection in there. That was cool. All right, I'm going to some questions here on this beautiful Friday morning. We're headed up to Shaver Lake. We're headed to the Sierra Nevada. Probably going to have some skiing content. So I think it's a lot more sunshine in California than there is in Colorado. But I think that Hennessy wins the starting job this year. I think if Brendel's on the team, Brendel's going to be the center. If they upgrade to the outside, if they shock us with a Linderbaum signing, then obviously Brendel won't be on the team. Hennessy currently isn't under contract for 2026. So they would have to re-sign Matt Hennessy. And I mean, speaking of him, I think Matt Hennessy put up some good numbers last year, especially for a backup. His run blocking grade about 10 percentile points lower than Jake Brendel's, but a slightly higher pass blocking grade for Matt Hennessy. Did a good job filling in 2 starts, I think, for Matt Hennessy last year, including that game where the line performed really, really well against the Atlanta Falcons. William Roberts thinks that Joey Bosa is going to be a 49er. That could very well be a signing that the 49ers are able to execute this offseason. They were in the running last year, but the Buffalo Bills were willing to bid about $13 million. And the 49ers only about 10 last year. So the thirst for big names is irrational. The 49ers don't necessarily need a big name to be a good team. What they do need is their big names who are on track to return. The one general rule to remember entering free agency is that the biggest 49ers acquisition of this offseason, no matter what they do in free agency, will be a return to health. And that is a return that they must generally retain throughout the season. Everybody's getting caught up in getting big names. And really, that just shows me that there's a lack of understanding about how to build a football team. It isn't about big names here, big names there. It's about building the best team possible. And the 49ers have better players on their own roster right now returning this year than anyone who's available in free agency. If you don't believe me, I can show you a picture of the players that the 49ers have returning this next season who are better than the players available in free agency. There's Fred Warner. There is Nick Bosa. And that's not all that the 49ers are returning in 2026. So the biggest key for the 49ers is going to be to get these guys back to health and to keep them healthy. They beat the Seattle Seahawks on the road when these two guys were available. These two guys plus some other players on the football team. Now, on top of all that, this is my roster building sheet for the 49ers this next year. It's a depth chart. And look, we could see how many 90-man spots the 49ers have taken. 59 right now. That means they have got 31 spots left to fill. If the team has 31 spots left to fill, we'll start doing some math. They also have 7 draft picks as of right now. They are not going to fill all 31 spots with rookies. It's not going to be 7 draft picks and 24 undrafted free agents. The 49ers are going to build this team through signings as well. Now, whether there are some massive splashes thrown into there, or if these are depth signings, if these are mid-level starters, it's probably going to be a combination of all 3 of those. I don't know exactly how the balance is going to work, but just simplistically going out and saying we need big names without recognizing that huge names are returning for the 49ers in 2026, and without recognizing that a team is this complicated organism. It's this large entity. You've got to build a 53-man roster. You have to build a practice squad. You have to make sure that everything interplays well together. If you think it's as simple as just adding big names, quite frankly, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to building a roster. Fan anxiety is often insane, and a lot of people might be placated like a pacifier stuck in their mouth if the 49ers sign some names that they recognize, but that won't necessarily mean that the 49ers are building a better football team. Even the more famous signings that the 49ers do potentially make coming up are going to have to fit within the ecosystem of the team and the ecosystem of the 49ers strategy, which is why we look at this with nuance, which is why we look at this without just yelling about big names. We talk about this in terms of building a football team, which is a complicated operation. And to be honest, it's something that the 49ers have been really good at. They won 13 games this past year in a roster reset year. So don't lose sight of that fact as they turn the page to 2026. I'm the only person who is not afraid of pointing that out. Everybody else has to go and be cool and talk about big names and try to get clicks and yell at a camera and complain and just dish out negativity because that's easier to get attention that way. I'm actually going to tell you guys the truth, which is more complicated. It's not as attention grabby because you've got to look at a very complex roster and you have to fill in the gray area as the 49ers try to build the best team possible. Rumors online are that the Chiefs are the current favorites to land Kenneth Walker. The Giants also interested in K9, the running back who won the Super Bowl MVP award. I think at running back, Walker not likely for the 49ers, but I think Kenny Gainwell would fit very well. Is there a better running back name in the history of football than Kenneth Gainwell? I mean, even a receiver name, I guess Kenneth Gainwell would be really good. But, I mean, he does a good job gaining yardage. Kenny Gainwell, he does a good job catching the football out of the backfield too, which I think, Bosa and Warner will likely come back fresh this next season. That's a big potential boon for the 49ers. But one guy who is coming off of a very taxing season is Christian McCaffrey, who's at 413 touches coming out of 2025. For that reason, I really think that the 49ers should add some veteran fortification to running back, somebody who they can trust catching the ball out of the backfield. You don't know, I'll break it to you right now, you don't know if they can necessarily trust rookies coming out of the backfield because they have to interplay with a very complex passing game. And if you can't necessarily trust rookies coming out of the backfield, well, Kenny Gainwell had about 500 receiving yards last year. It was a very short, heavy passing attack from Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he fit well into it. And the 49ers need underneath options on top of Christian McCaffrey to help take off a load of their superstar running back in 2026. Joseph Ramirez, anybody who says the 49ers suck doesn't know football. This isn't the Jim Tom Sula days. I mean, anybody who's saying that the front office doesn't know what they're doing and the 49ers are in a bad spot, not only do you not know football, you just aren't paying attention. You aren't living in reality. This is like, I call it the post-truth world that we live in. We're going to deal with facts on this channel, and I don't care. I don't care if it hurts anybody's feelings. I'm not going to cater to emotionality. I'm just going to cater to truth, and that's why we're doing so well. But the 49ers won 13 games last year. It was a roster reset year. They had to get younger last year for many reasons. They ended up competing in the toughest division in NFL history, and they won 13 games. They knocked off the defending world champs on the road. I mean, some people just need to gain some perspective. And the reason I'm addressing this is because I see it all online. There's just this toxicity that is rooted in falsity. It's it's fantasy land to think that the 49ers are in a bad spot or that they performed poorly in 2025. It just isn't true. They objectively were good. They won 13 games. That objectively happened in a roster reset. You cannot run from facts. So are they in a really competitive spot in the NFC West? Of course. Seahawks were historically good this past year. Hats off to them. The Rams are just trying to really cram another one in here before Matthew Stafford retires. So they're going for it. 49ers are just trying to keep things sustainable and powerful. But, even in a roster reset year with a mass injury event, they went out and they beat both the Seahawks and the Rams on the road. So I can't wait to continue watching more good NFC West football. If you keep it real, you look at the challenges that all of these teams face and you objectively analyze how they go through the challenges, and you don't have to be an emotional 5-year-old about it. You could be an adult who objectively appraises the situation. And I think that the vast majority of viewers, the vast majority of the silent crowd on social media, the silent majority, if you will, recognizes that. But there's just an insane vocal minority that thinks that 13 wins didn't happen last year. And I'm here to set that record straight. I wonder if Kendrick Bourne does come back next year. I think that would be a later signing for the 49ers to fill out roster depth. He did drop a lot of passes for the 49ers last season, and they do have to get a lot better when it comes to separation at wide receiver. That was a weakness for this team. There is no question about it. I think probably the most glaring, biggest weakness for the 49ers, especially on the offensive side of the ball, was their inability to consistently get open. And then you saw that really become an Achilles heel against the Seattle Seahawks down the road. That Ricky barking dog account is back, and Mike he's been right on some stuff, that's for sure. He's missed other things, and he's saying that the Eagles have made Jalen Carter available in their pursuit for Maxx Crosby. Interesting, to say the least. I don't know who to believe at this time. There's so much garbage out there on social media, but we can all talk about it. Mike says he wouldn't mind having Kendrick Bourne on the practice squad this season. KB's a great guy in the locker room. And there's a worth to that. There absolutely is a worth to the energy that he brings. I don't think that people on the outside might fully appreciate how long of a grind an NFL season is, especially for the younger players. They show up and, in July, and then they start their college training camps around the same time. But in college, they're usually done by late November, early December, unless they're a playoff team. And in the NFL, especially if you're a playoff team in the league, you can be going all the way till February. So you're tacking on all of December, all of January, half of February. It's 2.5 months longer. Guys, the rookies often hit a wall. Like, instead of a 12-game season, you're playing a 17-game regular season, preseason games on top of that. The rookies often play in the preseason games, postseason games after that. I mean, it is no joke. So when you're going through the toil of an NFL season, the guys that you surround yourself with, the quality of people in the locker room, I think that's a really, really important variable for teams to maintain morale and be ready to peak at the right time and perform toward the end so they don't just fall off a cliff. So I think that there is value in having Kendrick Bourne around the building. Of course, you need to be at least a replacement level player. You need to bring that kind of ability. And let's not forget the contributions that he made last year in that massive Week 5 win against the Rams. This is true from Thomas. The 49ers had one of the greatest non-Super Bowl winning seasons last year in NFL history, not just the 49ers. Again, there has never been a team as injured and depleted as the 49ers were in 2025 to win 13 games. I've gone through the league history at this point. I haven't found anything close to what the 49ers accomplished last year. And at this point, that's just a fact. People might not like it because they can't be as negative. They can't wallow in their emotions. They can't grab clicks on social media because negativity sells and their channels are struggling. They might not like it, but it's a fact. And I don't care if they don't like it, because I'm just going to continue repeating the facts. There has been no more successful team in NFL history as depleted as the 2025 49ers were. So their biggest returns in 2026, their biggest acquisitions, I should say, in 2026 will be their returns to health. And the two most prominent ones are up on the screen in Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Earlier today, the Rams and Cam Curl, their safety, agreed to terms on a extension, 3 years, $36 million. We projected Cam Curl to be about a $12 or $13 million player on the roster builder. And he ends up being, what is that? That's about right. Yeah, 3 years, $36 million ends up being $12 million with a value of up to $39 million. So $12 to $13 million. We got that exactly right with Cam Curl. Safety was not the Rams' problem last year. So I'm not surprised to see them re-sign Cam Curl, their safety. Cornerback was the big issue for the Rams, which is also why it shouldn't be surprising that they traded for Trent McDuffie. So I think as it stands today, the Rams starting lineup on defense stronger than it was last year. And I mean, they gave up the highest explosive play rate in football down the stretch of last year. Explosive passes. They had a good front. I thought they had solid linebacker play, but they really, really struggled at corner. That was something that the Rams needed to do. Now, you spin it to the 49ers. The 49ers are going to need to improve their receiver room. I think that's the one biggest point of need, as I keep on saying. That separation needs to get better for the 49ers entering this 2026 season. And that's what they're going to focus on in free agency. And then I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers double dipped between free agency and the draft at wide receiver. All right, I'm going to answer some questions here from the Denver airport on our layover. We're headed to Fresno. I got to check the flight time here. See when we board. You know, I got kicked out of first class on this flight. It doesn't look like I'm getting the upgrade unless somebody no-shows, which is disappointing. Yeah, look, I am first on the list. I'll let you guys know how it goes. This is how it works. I'm first on the list. You could see DLOM right there, number one, but it's full. And obviously, I want that upgrade. I thought that I had it up until yesterday when somebody decided to swoop in front of me and buy one of those seats. So let's hope for a no-show on this flight so I can get it. John asking, David, why do people see an 8-game sample size against a 3-year vet, 2 NFC championship, Super Bowl appearance with I'm not sure what you're asking, but I think that you're asking why do people think that Mac Jones is going to start over Brock Purdy at some point. That's because those people just don't know the game. Mac is a great backup, and I think that he could be a solid starter for another team, but Brock Purdy is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And people, to answer your question, which I think is a good one, people don't like being wrong. People have been really wrong many times on Brock Purdy, and they just keep on digging themselves deeper. Credibility has eroded over time, and at this point, they're just hanging on with this ridiculous Mac Jones narrative. The facts are the facts there, too. Purdy's one of the best in the game, maybe the best in the game. I mean, he has the resume to be able to make that argument. Mac is good, but Mac is not at that level, doesn't have that type of mobility. Regardless, the 49ers are really, really lucky to have both of them. It's the best quarterback room in the NFL. If I'm in the Valley, go to PMO. So I'm thinking about going there with my dad today when I land in Fresno over in the Tower District. So could be cool. That's going to be in a couple hours, though. We went there last year, and maybe we'll feature Piemonte's out in Fresno today. Thank you for the tip from Chris. I don't think this is true either. Somebody's saying that Mac didn't air it out. Mac threw the ball downfield. I mean, Mac was a good quarterback. The downside of Mac, he was really good. He was number 9 QBR. You can't say that this was like a weak quarterback. The downside of Mac was that he wasn't as mobile as Brock Purdy, so he didn't escape the elite pass rushes as well. He, remember the game against the Houston Texans? He didn't pick up yards on the ground with his legs as efficiently. Yeah, sure, Brock Purdy might have been a little bit more aggressive downfield, but I think that Mac was actually a plus quarterback, and I think that the tape and the numbers bore that out. This is the key thing. Mac played so many of his games with the 49ers at their absolutely most injured. Like, they were – remember the game against the Rams? I mean, that was insane. I still remember the game against the Cardinals where he threw the beautiful deep ball to Ricky Pearsall, the 4th down deep ball to Ricky Pearsall. I mean, downfield accuracy and the ability to throw, he's got a good arm. That's not Mac's issue. It was that the 49ers, after Pearsall got hurt, especially after Pearsall got hurt, didn't have guys getting open downfield. The separation was an issue, and Purdy also had to face that for some of his starts, especially the ones against the Seahawks really late in the year. What do you mean Kyle doesn't like mobility? That's ridiculous. Kyle wants the ball out to who's open in the correct progression. And in an ideal world, that would be quick, of course, because you want your guys to be open quickly. But ideal world never happens in the NFL. Like, stuff gets in the way. Stuff is derailed. Pass rushes are there. Coverages might surprise you. You need to be able to buy time in the NFL to be a max efficiency quarterback. So Kyle wants mobility. His ideal QB, he's even said it before, was somebody who can throw like Drew Brees and run like Lamar Jackson. He wouldn't have said that if he doesn't like mobility. So it's not this either or kind of thing. You're either mobile or you get the ball out quickly. You can get the ball out quickly, but also be mobile when it's not right to get the ball out quickly because the option isn't there. And Purdy has an elite combination of those two, which is why he's been the most efficient quarterback in the league ever since he joined in 2022. Hopefully I'm explaining that balance well, because I keep on seeing these takes and I'm like, guys, I mean, you have Brock Purdy leads the league, leads the NFL across every single statistic that pertains to efficiency, like the stats that matter since he joined the league. He's number 1. And the way that some of you guys talk about Purdy makes me think that he's like the number 24 quarterback in the league. He has ranked number 1, not number 2, not number 3, not number 8, not number 9, number 1 since he joined the league in 2022. So let's start living in reality. Update on re-signing Bourne. I don't think that's going to be something that happens until a later wave of free agency. You're going to have to make your big signings first. I do think the 49ers will work something out with Trent Williams. If they don't, they better have a backup plan. And the only one I could think of is Rasheed Walker, the free agent coming from the Green Bay Packers. Thank you for the super chats. Appreciate you guys helping keep me occupied here from the Denver airport. We're boarding in 33 minutes. I'm not going to talk for that long. They just announced that my upcoming flight has Starlink on it. That's going to be good. That's going to allow me to be productive on this upcoming flight. So I cannot wait. Starlink is a game changer on planes, by the way. Yes, the Fred Warner trade talks is just rage bait from it's I know that somebody like that has a lot of followers in New York media said that. I always hate when these reporters go out and say, well, that's the talk. There's talk. It's like, dude, you were drunk at the NFL Combine at a bar hoping to speak to somebody of importance, but you couldn't find somebody of importance because they didn't want to talk to you. And you probably just talked to another drunk media friend and you guys speculated about Fred Warner's trade availability, even though you know nothing about the 49ers roster construction and salary cap situation. And then you turn around a week later and you say that there's talk around the league that this is a possibility. Just because you and your media buddies who know nothing about the 49ers discussed it at the NFL Combine doesn't mean that this is actually a point of discussion around the NFL amongst people who are making decisions. That's what's such a joke about social media, is that all of a sudden everyone is an expert and everybody has to put like an NFL logo on their avatar, and they think that they're insiders with connections, and they're not. I actually talk to people. Like I'll say it. I actually have connections, and these people laugh at the stuff that's put out online that unfortunately a lot of people are fooled by and take seriously. But I think that you need to, when you're reading stuff on X, it's good that you identified that as rage bait, because that is where it comes from. And there's more of that than ever because more people have a platform now than ever. And, maybe we're now realizing that not everybody should be heard by the masses. That's what social media was able to bring to the world, is that now everybody has a platform, and even the parody and troll accounts can go out and fool some people. All right, guys. I want to get some food. I want to get some stuff done before I have to board this flight in less than half an hour. So wanted to give you guys a little bit of a show here from Denver. It's snowing outside, but we've got to move on to sunny California. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. That's the Maxx Crosby update. And that, of course, is the 49ers offensive line strategy update. Working on a big state of the 49ers O-line piece for the San Francisco Standard. So stay tuned for that.